Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer on the source material. Have you ever found yourself staring at a blank screen at 2 in the morning, completely drowning in PDFs and wondering how on earth you're going to stitch all these different academic voices together into your paper? Well, you are absolutely in the right place. Today, we're diving straight into a game-changing framework for academic citation and source synthesis. We're talking about the Berger method, a super effective, structured way to integrate quotes that will instantly make your research writing so much more powerful.
All right, here's a quick look at the menu for today's explainer. We'll start with the art of citation, then meet the quote burger. After that, we'll break it down. Top bun for the introduction, the meat for the quotation, and bottom bun for the analysis. Finally, we'll wrap up with synthesis, or making your sources actually talk to each other.
Section 1, the art of citation. To kick things off, we really need to shift how we view the raw materials we find in our sources. Seriously, are you just stacking books or are you building an argument? I want you to ask yourself this next time you're writing. Because as the source material points out, true synthesis means you have to act like an architect. You can't just be a stacker of information. Your job isn't to just dump a pile of findings onto the page, it's to use those raw materials to construct a totally new perspective. And this really highlights the difference between a weak paper and a strong one. A weak paper, it just bombards the reader with this undifferentiated mass of facts. It's basically just a list. But a strong paper actively compares those findings to create tension and open up new research spaces. You're bringing raw materials together to create an actual dialogue. Section 2, meet the quote burger. Now, to pull off that high-level synthesis, you've kind of got to nail the micro-level first. And that brings us to the ultimate fix for the dreaded dropped quote, the quote burger. It's a rigid 3-step method. 1, introduce the quotation. 2, add the quotation. And 3, explain the quotation. Never, ever just leave a quote hanging on its own. If you skip a step, the whole burger just falls apart and you lose your reader. Section 3, top bun, the introduction. Let's deconstruct this thing, starting right at the top bun. You can't just slap down a pair of quotation marks and call it a day. The Center for Scholarly Communication at IUP advises choosing quotes from distinguished authors to set the stage. By introducing exactly who is speaking before the actual quote drops, you immediately borrow their academic credibility and attach it to your own argument. Take this practical example from the IUP source material. Stivers and Sidnell, 2005, describe multimodality as encompassing. See how clean that is? We get the authors, the year, a really solid signal verb with describe, and the exact context. The stage is perfectly set before we even get to the quote. Section 4, the meat, the quotation. All right, the intro's set. Now for the protein. The precise ways in which talk, gesture, gaze, and aspects of the materials surround are brought together to form coherent courses of action. This is the exact phrase we're pulling from Stivers and Sidnell. And notice how it flows seamlessly from our top bun, like one natural, continuous thought. Now, when handling the meat, there are a few absolute non-negotiable rules. 1, maintain absolute text accuracy. It has to be perfect. 2, if you need to trim some fat or omit words, you got to use ellipses. And 3, always include the specific page citation right at the end, like that P1 we just mentioned. That is exactly how you maintain strict academic integrity. Section 5, bottom bun, the analysis. Okay. But you can't just serve meat on the top bun, right? You have to finish the burger with your own critical analysis. Honestly, the biggest mistake writers make is dropping a quote and just bailing to the next paragraph. You need to explain the quotation, combine their text with your interpretation, and conclude with a brand new idea or perspective. That's where you actually add value. Back to our example, the analysis here reads, this designation destabilizes a long-standing attitude that privileges verbal language. Do you see what the writer did there? They didn't just parrot back what Stivers and Sidnell said, they explained why it matters. It destabilizes old attitudes. That is a perfect bottom bun. Section 6, synthesis, making sources talk. Let's zoom out now and see how this all comes together. Building these individual quote burgers is exactly what sets you up for the ultimate academic task. Synthesis. The University of Waterloo paints a great picture of this. Think of your sources as a bunch of researchers sitting around a table, having a lively debate about your topic. One says fluoride reduces cavities by 25%. Another jumps in like, wait, I found 35%. Your job as the writer is to moderate that conversation. To structure these body paragraphs where multiple voices are talking, Waterloo suggests this three-step flow. First, the claim. Call out a trend you see. Second, the evidence. This is where you serve up those integrated quote burgers we just built. And third, the analysis and conclusion, where you evaluate the consensus or the glaring differences across all the sources. By marrying the micro-level quote burger with this macro-level synthesis, your voice always stays right in the driver's seat. So here's my question to leave you with today. Looking at your current notes and all those open tabs, how are you going to synthesize those raw materials into your next groundbreaking paper? Think about what new perspective those sources are begging you to build. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and happy writing.